From the book of Hebrews, chapter 12, verse 16. Lest there be any fornicator or profane person, profane means ungodly, which means unloving, as Esau, the brother of Jacob, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright. Now, what is a fornicator? In the classical sense, in the sense of the flesh, that is, in the world of outward appearance, people who fornicate are men and women who have sexual relationships with for a short time, maybe even just once, a one-night stand, and then they go on about their way, you see. People who do that all the time, you see. But men and women are thoughts and feelings manifested in this physical world. So you see, a man, or in the example of a man and a woman fornicating, a thought can lust after all kinds of women or emotions or feelings, you see. It can be applied to anything. It can be applied to cheeseburgers, if that's your thing. It can be applied to money, chasing after vanity, chasing after houses, chasing after cars. You see how all of that stuff is just temporary, it's vain. You see, it gives you a short burst of pleasure, right? And then the thing is gone. Just like that woman moves on, you see, that you fornicated with for a while. Just like the taste and the pleasure that you get from stuffing down 10 cheeseburgers every day into you. It passes. You see, you keep eating more cheeseburgers. Why? Because the pleasure passes. It's temporary, you see, it's a temporary feeling, temporary pleasure. And this dynamic of chasing after temporary, vain pleasure, feelings, or emotions in the scriptures is symbolized through a harlot, a prostitute, because a prostitute is also a woman, right? But she is a temporary feeling or emotion. You see, you pay her with your money, with your life force, so that you may experience the feeling, so that you may feel the feeling for a short time, you see? And then she takes your money and she moves on. She takes your life force and moves on, you see? And so it is with all kinds of other bullshit and temporary vain nonsense that people chase after. You see, they keep chasing after the temporary vain hit like a junkie. You see, it's no different. You can apply it to anything. You can apply it to drugs as well. You see, it's all chasing after temporary vain pleasure that gives you some pleasure for the moment, and that's it. You see? And that is exactly what we see in this verse that is telling us about Esau, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright. So for one morsel of meat, for some temporary pleasure that he got from eating that meat, he sold his birthright. What is the birthright of man? It's the spiritual mind, which is the promised land that we travel to, you see? Esau represents the carnal mind. He represents the Old Testament. Ment is Latin, M-E-N-T. It means mind. We are traveling from the old mind to the new mind, from the Old Testament to the New Testament, from the carnal or fleshly mind to the new mind, the spiritual mind, which is life and peace. The carnal mind is death, according to Romans chapter 8, verse 6. You see, death is not you leaving this body. You cannot die in the sense of ceasing to exist because you are spirit. You are the one who inhabits the body. Spirit is consciousness. It cannot die. It can only be transformed. It's the only thing that can happen to it. The only way in which it can die is to suffer psychologically. You see, the carnal mind brings psychological suffering. You see? The wages of sin are death. Sin, error thought that you have in your head, produces death. It produces the carnal mind. It produces I am useless, I am stupid, I am powerless in you. And the negative emotions and feelings, that is the death that you suffer as a consequence of your sin, your error thoughts. Do you see? So what else is the nature of Esau? You see, Esau is not a singular person. He represents, symbolizes the carnal mind, which, by the way, is Satan. The carnal mind accuses you, because he is Satan, before the brethren. Is it not what is written in the scriptures? He accuses you with, I'm worthless, I'm stupid, I'm powerless, and so on and so forth. You see? What is the nature of the carnal, fleshly mind? We already talked about how one part of it is chasing after temporary, fleshly, vain pleasure, non-stop. That's his bread, you see, of which he partakes every day. Another part is selfishness, you see. Cain also represents the carnal mind. Cain and Esau both represent the carnal mind. Abel and Jacob represent the spiritual mind. Cain's name means to get and to acquire. You see, get and acquire material nonsense, because that is the nature of the carnal, superficial, fleshly man, is to be selfish. It's called, in the Bible, iniquity is another word for it, for selfishness. It's the opposite of equity, which is love. Equity is dealing in balanced scales. Iniquity is dealing in unbalanced scales, because you're just taking. You see, that's why the scales are like this. One side is just taking, and the other side is left high and dry. That's iniquity. That's selfishness. You see? And with such a character, with such a mind, how can you value the things of the Spirit if all your mind is focused on, is consumed with, is temporary vain pleasure? That is why these people end up selling their birthright, accounting it as worthless, in return for what? In return for a morsel of meat. In return for a fucking cheeseburger. In return for some temporary pussy. In return for money. In return for houses, cars, the praises of men. You see, it's not just material things. You see, it's also things like the praises of men. All these things that give you a temporary dopamine hit, and then they pass on. And then you have to get more and more and more and more. Just like the junkie who sits in the street and has to get his shot of heroin, crack, or whatever the hell he's using. You see, he keeps chasing the dragon. The dragon is the carnal mind, is Satan. He's chasing the carnal mind endlessly, just like so many billions of people in this world. Chasing temporary, vain fixes of pleasure. Why? Because they don't understand value, and because they don't understand where those things, those emotions, those feelings that they seek after come from. You see, they make the mistake because they are carnal, because they are fleshly, because they are superficial. They make the mistake of projecting the source of love, peace, and joy, which is in you. It's in the spiritual mind, you see? Do you see why they can't enter in? They project love, peace, and joy, which has its source in you, not outside of you, not in other people outside of you. But they project that source into other people. They project it into cheeseburgers. They project it into drugs. They project it into pussy. They project it into dick. They project it into houses, into cars, into money. You see? But all things in this world are vain. They are temporary. Everything dies in this world. You see? King Solomon says everything under the sun, everything that is done under the sun is vanity. It appears for a short while like a flower that blooms and then it withers away. So why do you project those feelings, those emotions that you desire? Why do you project them into temporary things and temporary people? Should you be surprised that you end up chasing after the pussy, the money, the houses, the cars, drugs, whatever else, which are all temporary and vain? Should you be surprised that you just keep on chasing in that infinite loop? How many cheeseburgers are you going to eat until you figure out that they every time taste the same? It's the same fucking dopamine hit you get. How many times do you want to go around and fornicate with strangers? Screwing up your temple, your inner world, your thoughts and your feelings, your consciousness, defiling it. Until you realize that that nut that you bust is the same one every single time. Just like the cheeseburger tastes the same every single time. You see, that is why there is a mechanic that was introduced by God, so that we figure out how to, or so that we learn what I just explained to you. You see, when you indulge in these things, I've already listed like gluttony, um, lusting after food, lusting after pussy, lusting after money, and so on and so forth. But let's take the example of drugs, right? Let's take the example of drugs. So in the beginning, when you start doing drugs, you will have almost 100% pleasure, right? And very little to no, basically 0% or almost 0% pain and suffering, right? That's the beginning. Do you see how Satan, do you see how the carnal mind pays you up front? But now comes the shift. You keep taking that drug, whatever drug it may be. You keep taking it, you keep taking it. You want more and more because that's the nature of lust, the nature of the flesh. Your flesh is the bottomless pit, your five senses, they can never be filled. Everything you can see with your eyes, it's never filled. Have you ever seen a woman that was so beautiful, you stopped looking at things, you thought to yourself, I'll never have to look at anything again? No, that's not how it works. Have you ever tasted a cheeseburger that tasted so good you never wanted to eat a cheeseburger again? No, you're still eating fucking cheeseburgers, right? So now the pleasure keeps declining, even though you keep shoveling more cheeseburgers into you, even though you keep smoking more crack, even though you keep doing more whatever it is you're doing or consuming. The pleasure declines and it declines, and the pain and the suffering, it goes up and it goes up and it rises. It rises and rises and rises until you have very little to basically no pleasure at all. You see? So now we are at a point where God can work with you, because now the pain of remaining the same is higher than the pain of changing. Do you see? So what is the resolution for this thing? You see, the solution is not to deny yourself completely. You can have a cheeseburger. Have a cheeseburger on one day in the week or one day every 2 weeks or so. You ought to be balanced, you see? Neither overly deny yourself, living as an ascetic monk in the fucking mountains or something like that, nor overindulge all the time. Be the man in the middle. That's the narrow path that only few find, because most people are trapped in the over-righteous or the over-wicked mind. The one who denies himself all the time, the Pharisee, and the overindulger, the wicked people who just overindulge and have no control. You see? Christ said things like, "Woe unto you if all men speak well of you." That means there should be a balanced opinion of you. The scriptures also tell you to not go to the left hand nor to the right hand, but to be balanced, you see? Be not righteous over much. Be not wicked over much either. Isn't that what the scriptures tell you? But you see, that is a very fine line to walk. But that is the narrow way, the way of the balanced, loving man, you see?